Welcome to Drivers Talk Radio, hosted by automotive expert and championship-winning race car driver Rick Titus. Join Rick and his team for informative and entertaining discussions geared for automotive enthusiasts and consumers alike. Enjoy in-depth interviews with industry leaders and influencers. Now, originating from its studio headquarters in Las Vegas, it's time for Drivers Talk Radio and your host, Rick Titus.
And thank you so much for joining us. We truly do appreciate you being here. I'm Rick Titus. As you already know, this is Drivers Talk. Joining me in studio today, of course, is Spencer Crick. He is the producer and co-host of the program. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing well.
I understand the Steelers actually proved they were capable of winning a game recently.
Oh, yeah, we had a great game, especially for 3 minutes.
So, as long as it was a critical 3, that's all that really,
enough.
Really matters. Hey, we want to welcome you to Drivers Talk Radio, brought to you by Kicker High Performance Audio, where their motto is, and quite simply, raise your expectations. Spencer and I experienced that firsthand. Boy,
mercy.
It altered our expectations of what good audio can be. And also brought to you by Motorbooks. We have a book club here where every week we give away a book. Well, we give it away. Motorbooks actually is the one that delivers and has to come up with the book. And, of course, we always have a book club question. You can go to our Facebook page and, of course, click like us and be the first to answer the true or false question accurately. And Motorbooks will be sending you the book. This week it happens to be Camaro, A Legend Reborn. This is written by Larry Etzel. I know Larry. Very, very strong professional in the business, and I'll tell you how strong a professional. He got Ed Welburn, who is the head of design at General Motors, to write the foreword. Trust me, he would not have done that for Acme Books and Bill Nobody from Ed and Bill's Bait Shop. It takes a pretty knowledgeable guy to get to garner the respect of Ed Welburn. Welburn wrote the beginning of this book, and, of course, Larry did his homework and was given access to some pretty important archives in terms of preparing this book for Camaro. As you know, Camaro is selling well. It's hot, and of course there's newer and hotter iterations coming down the pike. Don't look for big dramatic changes, but certainly things are going pretty well for Camaro. And of course, all the buzz right now is the 2015 Mustang. A friend of mine called me last night and said he saw one be delivered, and within 15 minutes it had already left.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, it went away pretty quickly. I want to also remind you, we are coming to you from the middle of the Shelby American, what they call their Legends Museum. Of course, it's rich with Cobras and GT350s and a lot of Mustang and Shelby history, Cobra history, including the very first Cobra that Shelby ever produced. Well, this is just off the Las Vegas Strip at Sunset Boulevard. You can see it from the Highway 15, the major thoroughfare that comes through here. It's free to come in here. They've only moved here reasonably soon, about last 8 months, 9 months, maybe a year.
I think it's been a year now.
About a year now. And, of course, this is where they assemble and modify all these Mustangs and build these Cobras. Right here, and of course, you can get tours for free. It's free to come in here. They got a great gift shop, a great museum, and, of course, you can actually watch them building Shelby automobiles. Pretty fun stuff. So kind of cool, and certainly a great honor for us. My roots certainly go back to these days because my father was a team driver for Shelby. You got something you want to add there, buddy?
No, I was just adjusting my headset. I had an itch.
That's terrible. That's a terrible thing to have happen. Well, I'll just remind you, if you're in Las Vegas or live here, please join us every Sunday morning at 8 o'clock on 9:20 a.m. The Game. It's a privilege for us to be in that location. We love having that spot just before the big games come on, and we appreciate ESPN Sports Talk and Lotus Broadcasting let us having that slot at 8 o'clock on Sunday mornings, 9:20 a.m. If you're in town, want to hear the show, it'd be a great spot, or go to your computer at driverstalkradio.com, and you can actually watch current episodes and, of course, the shows that we archive. A couple of 3 things I want to remind you of. Coming up a little later in the program, a guest we've been wanting to have back on for a long time. This, after 15, we're getting through our 15th season of Drivers Talk. #1 rated show is every time we talk about Elio and the new Elio car that's coming out, the 3-wheel high mileage, low purchase price, $6,800. Air conditioning, airbags, a whole deal. We've driven it once. Guess what? They're coming back in town again. We're going to have Paul Elio, head engineer and designer and, of course, founder of this company, ElioMotors.com. You want to go there, E-L-I-O, ElioMotors.com. We're talking about 84 miles per gallon in their own engine on highway and 49, almost 50 miles of the gallon in town. This car is going to be a revolution. Now, they've already had, I checked this morning, Spencer, over 500,000 hits on their website. They've got over 20,000 reservations for a car, and they will be starting production not too long from now.
I got a friend of mine to be one of those people. upping on the reservation.
On
there.
the reservation list? Oh, very good. Yeah, and I think we need to join that list as well, because at $6,800, $6,900, you can't go too far wrong.
Oh, you can't.
And you've ridden in it. You know darn good well it's a real car.
It is really, it's way more comfortable than you'd think.
Good point. It's tandem seating, meaning one in front of the other, but we'll get into all of that. We have Paul Elio coming on in our next segment, and of course, I'm very excited to announce that on Halloween weekend, the Friday of Halloween, from 9 to noon, they will actually be here with the final production iteration of the Elio. They'll be here, special guests, and an opportunity to take a look at the car, meet some of the key people. I do have to say, I like the team from Elio. It's good folks.
Definitely.
Really good, folks. We look forward to talking to Paul a little later in the show. Of course, lots of news to share with you, a ton of things going on. I want to remind you, we get questions all the time, Spence, about, how can I get into the collector car market? Mustangs have become very, very expensive. Try and find a 65, 66 Mustang. You better bring your wallet and a banker. And, of course, that's now kind of trickled up through all of those. Even V8 Mavericks now, which is basically the other Mustang, if you will. And Cougars are now very, very expensive. So people are always looking for an opportunity to get into a unique and collector car. Well, one of the ones that's been running under the radar for quite some time now is cars from American Motors Corporation. They went out of business some time back, but they really did compete, I thought, on a pretty competitive level in the form of Javelin, the AMX.
Javelins are nice.
And one of the cars you may not want to mess with is a Gremlin that's got one of those American Motors V8s in it, because that little booger is very quick. And they are now kind of generating some collector car movement. AMC Pacers, some call it the ugliest car ever produced. Basically, they look like a goldfish bowl going down the road. It's funny, you see it today, and it actually looks appropriate aerodynamically, space-wise. It's definitely a different look, and there's even a station wagon version of it that doesn't even look as radical as a sedan, quite frankly. But in any event, they've got a big convention coming up here that they do every year, November 7th through the 8th, right here at Railroad Pass Hotel and Casino. That's just outside of Las Vegas, out close to where I live, in Boulder City. That's about 20 minutes outside of Las Vegas, direct east of Las Vegas. And they have lots of cars come in from all over the country. We've got friends coming in from Oklahoma. Steve Mank, who contributes to the show, will be here. He and Tana, his lovely bride, will be here. And first they'll attend SEMA, and then, of course, go to the convention. And I know they're bringing something AMC, though not the wagon they brought last year. And, of course, just lots of good stuff going on. Good people. And if you're looking at a car that you can get into reasonably and have a unique car to take to car shows, but it's still reasonable to buy parts for, because so much of it was shared, that's all I'm going to say. I got to tell you, AMC, American Motors Corporation cars from the 60s, 70s, still a sleeper.
Oh, definitely. Really cool, especially if you don't know anything about them.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great place to learn about them.
All right, now I am going to give you a casual, if unsolicited, observation.
Please
You're a fan, please don't. If you're a fan of the Big Bang, I think you'll appreciate AMC collectors. They tend to be more intelligent, but a little bit nerdy.
They're my kind of crowd.
Yeah, exactly. We like them. We love the passion. We love the people, and a great, obviously, a great group of folks. We wouldn't be endorsing it so highly if we didn't think so. So, again, November 7th and 8th at Railroad Pass Hotel and Casino. You can probably get a room in Boulder City. They call it Henderson, but the truth is it's right there on the border of Boulder City. As you move about 25 minutes direct east of Las Vegas. Good group, lots of cars. We've donated a lot of books for them for some of their giveaways. They've got swap meet, the whole deal. Really good stuff. So you might enjoy that. I wanted to bring that up. We'll give our book away a little later, and of course, we will have some racing news, some of which I'm just putting off as long as I possibly can, because I'm still infuriated by what went on at Charlotte, the behavior of a couple of morons, and then, of course, but we'll get into all of that and where that's all headed pretty quickly. And, of course, Roger Penske, who makes it a habit to hire the absolute best of the best no matter what he's doing, stole one. And I'd say his IndyCar team is going to be difficult to manage, but highly competitive. That's all I'm going to say. Since the new teammate has had wheel-to-wheel contact on numerous occasions last season with one of the existing team drivers. So I think the motorhome should be, well, interesting.
Hey, winning solves everything.
It's the Real Housewives of Penske. It's going to be, winning solves. Yeah, for Roger. Roger's rarely in the fisticuffs that follow. So a little later in the show, Paul Elio will be on the phone with us, and then, of course, on Halloween Friday, they will actually be here at Shelby American. If you needed any more incentive to come over here to Las Vegas, not to mention the town, the Shelby Automobile Collection here, and, of course, Elio being here with their very special car that will actually be hitting the road next year. Well, lots of reasons to come here. Okay, news, what's going on? A lot going on. You know, every time, Spencer, I read that Porsche's, you know, I'm a Porsche guy.
Yeah.
I've had several 911s, 356 coupe, things of that nature. But every time I read that they've added even more power to the car, it's just like, what, more powerful Uzi you're going to hand to the 6-year-old? I just... Thank God for electronic stability programs, traction control.
Saving your life.
See, people are being handed way more power in a car that's got a polar moment somewhere around Nome. That if it didn't have all of that, would actually require serious skills to hustle. And, of course, they have continued to add more power to probably one of the most famous and longest enduring silhouettes, and that is, of course, the 911 Porsche Carrera. So that always makes me kind of wet. Hey, one of the cheapest ways to test market a possible idea, a car that you might want to do, a design you might want to try, is the first place you start is a rumor mill. First you use a rumor mill, then you do a concept car, then you do focus groups, which I don't give a dime's worth of credibility to because nobody's voting with their wallet. They're only voting with their personal opinion.
Ask Edsel how those
focus groups work out. Well, a lot of cars wouldn't have made it, buddy. The Pontiac Aztek would have never made it to life, the light of day, if focus groups had to bet with their wallets. The Pacer probably wouldn't have, and of course the Edsel, which today has collector car status. It's really interesting how these funky cars end up becoming pretty valuable cars down the road. But having said that, one of the hot rumors right now is that Hyundai is looking at a pretty hot-rodded sports car. They might even get more serious than the Bolster. So, and they've even leaked out, I love this, controlled leakage. Yeah, exactly. Spy shots, as it were, of a potential prototype. The LA Auto Show, which will be covered for us by Cam Benty, a journalist I've known for a long time, just coming back from Venice for a press trip. Yeah, let me check my sympathy meter. Didn't move it. But having said that, Cam's going to cover. He'll be here for SEMA. You'll see him on camera. Get a look at him. And then, of course, we will have Cam covering the LA Auto Show for us because we're going to be busy with some other events. Okay. A lot going on. Do you have some news items you want to share there, my friend?
I do. Fiat Chrysler. It happened.
It did happen.
They're a thing now.
And we have to say it that way, by the way.
Yeah, Fiat Chrysler.
Yep.
Yeah. It's still audible typo. Just saying it out loud.
Yep.
But yeah, when it comes to the other manufacturers they're kind of looked at as the low guy in the totem pole right now.
Right.
But they see a lot of potential upside in China, like everybody else.
Everyone's going to China.
I think the Jeep brand they're going to lean on pretty heavy.
Makes sense.
So we'll see how that pans out.
There is a lot going on with China, but I think much to my surprise, how much the Middle East is being looked at. Just a whole lot going on. Hey, we got so much more news to share with you, and of course, Paul Elio coming up in this next quarter. So look forward to talking to you. Thanks for being with us. MFM listeners, we'll be right back. And welcome back to Drivers Talk. Rick Titus and Spencer Crick. Truly appreciate being with us. Of course, AM/FM listeners, thanks for taking the time to support your local advertisers there. And, of course, those of you who join us on our website at driverstalkradio.com, you're actually watching the show, and we appreciate that as well. Having said all that, a little later in the program, we will, in fact, have our book club giveaway with Motorbooks, and remind you that Kicker is the performance audio company that actually sponsors and supports our show to bring it to you. We do have some racing news a little later in the program. Now, special announcement. We've talked about this in the past. We've had both this gentleman and some of his team on. We've actually had an opportunity to drive their car. And what we're talking about is we actually have Paul Elio. He is the founder and the gentleman behind the Elio car. This is, I just shared some of this with the Shelby people. As a lot of you people know, we're coming to you from the Shelby American building here in Las Vegas. And people are all over it. They can't wait. We're actually going to have a special event. We'll announce that in a few minutes. But on the phone out of Arizona this time, last time I think it was Detroit, we've got Paul Elio. Paul, thank you for taking time to be on the program, buddy.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Now, for those of you who do not know what this Elio is, and pretty much would be behind the curve if you don't, but if you want to go to Elio Motors, ELIO Motors.com, ElioMotors.com, you can get, there's a ton of video, there's a lot of internal shots. It really tells you what this, and I guess the best word to use here is revolution is going to be all about. This is the introduction of a different way of thinking about transportation. Now, as a journalist and as a radio program, we always have to approach these things with a certain level of skepticism, but we've worked with Paul and we've worked with his team enough to have real faith that this is going to happen. Paul, you must get that question a lot. Can you really make this happen?
Absolutely. I mean, what we're doing is difficult. Starting a new vehicle company is not a trivial endeavor.
Yeah.
And, I've been working on it for about 6 years. We started on it in 2008. And I think we're an unstoppable freight train at this point.
Yep.
We have 34 of the best suppliers in the world engaged. That is not easy to do. These global suppliers don't like small companies. They don't like startups. So to have that team in place is pretty amazing. Pep Boys has agreed to do our service for us. So we have 800 authorized service centers day one.
Wow.
So it's all about the partnerships that makes this possible.
I did. I noticed it on your. I was on your web page this morning, your Facebook page this morning, and noticed that you do the list of people willing to be involved with this company. And I'm hoping that I can introduce Jerome and yourself to a couple here at SEMA while you're here as well. That I think would have an interest in being involved as well. Is pretty darn impressive. Paul, I got to take you back to the beginning, though. You come up with this concept. You really had to think out of the box to take a different approach to transportation and not let conventional thinking scare you away from doing something revolutionary.
Well, it got driven by the high oil prices in 2008. I would watch the news every night and just get frustrated seeing all this wealth pour out of our country. And I decided I needed to do something about it. And I had an engineering firm that did new product development in automotive at the time. And so I went into work and we kicked the project off. And the fundamentals of it is front-to-back seating. So we seat two occupants, but we seat them in tandem rather than side by side.
Mm-hmm.
And that gives us the gas mileage. At highway speeds, most of your fuel goes to moving air. So we're half as wide, we move half as much air, we get double the mileage. That gives us the 84 miles per gallon.
Mm-hmm.
And then to achieve the sticker price of $6,800, it comes from a lot of different places. It's a slick architecture. It weighs about 1,200 pounds. And so, 1,200 pounds of stuff costs less than 2,400 pounds of stuff.
Fair point. Yep.
Another part is our business model. So every vehicle comes standard with air conditioning, power windows, power door locks, and a stereo. And all the other content gets added post-manufacture. And that's part of why cars cost so much, right? The big guys have adopted this package system to try to control their inventories.
Right.
And the problem with it is, and if you look around your car, I bet you can identify $3,000 or $4,000 of stuff you neither needed nor wanted, but you were forced to purchase to get the stuff you did want.
Right. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So by adding this stuff after the vehicle's made a la carte, you spend a lot less money and you get a lot more of what you want.
Fair point. And obviously, and certainly the F-150, the new F-150 that's coming out in aluminum and the reduction of over 700 pounds is very strong proof to the argument, less weight means better gas mileage and more performance. You're doing this with an engine. Now, we got to drive one of your production prototypes, but it did not have your engine in it at the time. I saw at the Barrett-Jackson show here, the auction here, you have your own engine now.
Well, yeah, the one you saw is a model. It's a 3D model.
Right.
And the very first Elio motor should be on dyno spinning in about by November 15th.
Do you have specific horsepower deltas you're wanting to make?
So it's a 55 horsepower motor. So we actually, it's a 0.9 liter. We started out at 1 liter. We had to downsize a little bit to get the mileage. Because the vehicle's so light and slippery, we couldn't get the torque curve where we wanted it to achieve the mileage.
Got it.
But we will still have an acceleration of under 10 seconds, so we'll out-accelerate, Nissan Versa and Smart and Prius and, all the B-segment guys. We lose handily to Corvettes.
What a shame. Yeah, and of course you're less money than the downstroke for a Corvette. But let's go back to a couple of the engineering basics. I've talked to a number of engineers who said in a three-wheel configuration, which this vehicle is, by far and away the most stable way to do that is to put the two wheels up front and the single wheel dead center in the rear. Would you agree with that argument? I guess somewhat, obviously.
Absolutely. So on level ground, you cannot roll this vehicle over going forward when you have the leading wheels as two wheels.
Good point.
In reverse, at 35 miles an hour, if you do what's called a J-hook, in other words, go all the way right, all the way left as fast as you can, it will roll over in reverse over 35 miles per hour.
Well, that pretty well proves the concept.
Most people don't drive more than 35 miles an hour in reverse, and actually I think we'll electronically limit it to prevent that condition.
Yeah, fair point. You know, I used to own an airplane called a Very Easy, a Burt Rutan design. You're probably familiar with them. This thing reminds me of that very much with the tandem seating, and just it's all about the aerodynamic efficiencies of this thing. And that really is the thing, and I can tell even since the prototype we've seen, Paul, it appears you've done a lot of work to continue to refine the wind cheating, if you will.
Absolutely. This project's all about the mileage and the price and safety. Right. That's the three things that we really want to achieve. And the key to the mileage at highway speeds is aerodynamics. Right.
Yep.
So we put a lot of effort there.
Well, you know, and I have to say that having been around the automotive industry a long time, also the cleaner you get a car, you can make it quieter too. Did you not gain some interior noise lowering because of the shape? You're
right. That will be a natural effect of that. We have not done sound measurements yet. So we have the early prototypes, as you mentioned. It's got the wrong drivetrain in it, et cetera. So we're not ready to take those kind of measurements. But we're advantaged in several ways. One, we have a full roll cage, which is stiffer than a unibody. And stiffness really helps you on noise.
It does.
The second, we have composite body panels. And plastics transmit noise much less readily than steel does. And then third, like I said, because it's slippery, it doesn't generate as much wind noise to start with. Yeah,
parasitically, a lot cleaner deal to do. All right, let's talk about one of the big coups. And I understand, listen, having 35,000 deposits on a car is certainly a good indicator. There's not a car company in the world that wouldn't like to have that right now. And, of course, I noticed over 500,000 visits to your website. I will be honest with you, we're doing show 755-ish right now, 759-ish. So we've been doing this a while. Every time we talk about Elio, it's our highest-rated show. So we know you have a following, but I think your big coup was getting the assembly plant out of Alabama that you're going to be using. Can you talk about that?
Sure. Yeah, it's Louisiana.
Louisiana. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're right. That asset really helps us in a lot of ways. So it is one of the most modern auto manufacturing plants in the country, and we own all the equipment inside. Stu Lichter, who's on our board and is a shareholder, owns the real estate, and we're leasing it from him.
Outstanding.
The equipment inside, we're keeping approximately half for our business. And so not only do we have all the equipment at a discount, but it's all in place and it works together. Right? If you gave me that equipment and I had to put it somewhere else to make it work together, it would cost me more money than what I paid. You know what I mean?
Yep, I do.
Secondly, we are mature enough now to know exactly what we're going to use and what we're not going to use. So one of our manufacturing partners is Kamal, and they're wholly owned by Fiat Chrysler. They do the automation solutions, obviously, for Fiat Chrysler, and then Volkswagen, General Motors, and a bunch of others. So they participate in the manufacture of 1 out of every 3 vehicles in the world. So they know folks who need this equipment on a regular basis. So they have 30 people down there on site today liquidating the equipment we don't need. And when I purchased the stuff in 2013, January 2013, manufacturing was not doing well in the U.S., and I quite honestly probably overpaid slightly for the equipment. But it was worth it to me because it was all in place. Since then, equipment prices have come back. So we're going to be able to sell it for more, about tens of millions of dollars more than what I paid for it. And it will actually contribute capital to the project. And on top of that, we'll have all the equipment left that we need to build vehicles.
Very, very interesting.
So you're right, it was a huge coup.
Paul, we come back from break. We're going to go to break right now for our AM/FM listeners. We're going to talk about how come you didn't need a 400 or 400,000 ton press. But of course, we'll get into that in just a minute more with Elio, Paul Elio himself, and Drivers Talk Radio in just a second. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Driver's Talk. Rick Titus, Spencer Crick, and special guest on the phone, and a gentleman that we like to consider a friend of in this program, and that, of course, is Paul Elio, the founder and inventor of the Elio motor car. Now, to get a better sense of that vehicle, we're talking a car that's going to be base priced at $6,800, $6,800, and get 84 miles a gallon highway and an estimated 50 or 49 miles city. I don't want to write a check they can't cash, so I think there'll be no problem getting it done. Will actually be a legitimate car company. It'll be a legitimate car. It'll have a warranty. It'll have airbags. It'll have safety, and it'll have air conditioning and have real conveniences. It's definitely a different way of thinking. We're thrilled to have Paul on the show with us. We're talking to us today out of, the Phoenix area, if that's true, Paul.
That is. I'm at home base today.
Okay, so well, glad to hear that.
I travel every week somewhere, but you caught me at home.
Oh, got it. Now, listen, if you're in Las Vegas or want to make it a point to be in Las Vegas on Halloween Friday, October 31st, Elio will be here joining us at Shelby American Automobiles, right here where they build Shelby Mustangs and Cobras. They'll be right outside. They'll have what I'm told, Paul, is the final iteration of prototypes that will actually see production. And, of course, you're welcome to come and see this vehicle, talk to the Elio people, and we'll be here gathering impressions as well. And, Paul, we're very excited about that you're actually going to be right here at Shelby's.
Yes, so the team will be there. I don't get to Vegas until Tuesday, unfortunately.
Oh, you're coming in for steam. I see. Well, yeah, you Learjet in, get all that star treatment.
No, I'm not at that point. I may be driving.
Over from Phoenix.
We're a startup.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's years down the road. I understand. I understand. Paul, what keeps you awake nights right now on this program? What are you thinking about the hardest, or more? What's your biggest concern right now?
Just making sure you get all the details, because there's 5 or 6 different areas that you have to work simultaneously, and you got to keep your eye on the ball everywhere. And so it's just keep an eye on the details. Like I said earlier, I think at this point we're kind of an unstoppable freight train. Right. As long as we don't try to screw it up, I think we will make it. But there's an enormous amount of work, and you really have to pay attention to the details.
A couple of 3 things I just want to share here, Paul. I've gotten to know Edsel Ford's son, Henry, one of his sons, Henry, very well, Henry Ford, who's now working his way through the car company. And he's not being fast-tracked because of who he is. He wants to see every level of what it takes to manage a car company. And when he first started doing these jobs, I saw him and I said, hey, this business is just a wee bit more complicated than you thought. And he goes, oh, my God. It's not easy bringing a car to market.
Yeah, the average guy, when their car doesn't start, is amazed. I'm amazed any of them start. Yeah. I mean, think about it. You got 2,500 parts from around the world. Yep. No 2 are the same, right? Because you can't make things identical. Yep. They all come together in one place, and a few hours later, at the end of the line, you turn the key and it starts up. It's absolutely amazing it can be done.
It is amazing. Now, I'm gonna ask you, does the name Elon Musk, are you looking out of the right side of your eyes to see what Musk is up to with Tesla?
No, I think we're attacking different ends of the market, and we're definitely completely different vehicles. I applaud Elon. I think somebody needs to be working on pure electric. I think he's doing a great job, and honestly, his success really helps me because starting a new vehicle company is difficult, and he's proved that it's doable. Because the last person to successfully start an American car company was Walter P. Chrysler in 1928.
Wow. Yeah, I know it didn't go well for Tucker, but Tucker may be driven out. But one of the challenges I think you're facing, and one that I'm hoping you won't face near the resistance he has, and that, of course, is the distribution medium. Because last we spoke, Paul, you wanted to be your own distribution medium for these products.
That's correct. We think that's a more efficient process for our product. And, he is cleared the way, I believe, in 45 states. So I think there's 5 states that we have to work with. We are technically a motorcycle, so the laws are slightly different. Right. And I think we have a good shot at getting that done. And let's face it, there's no other product that demands a particular style of distribution. Apple sells their products in Apple stores, and they also sell them at Best Buy.
Fair point.
Coach Person. There's a ton of people who are allowed to have company-owned stores, and for some reason, in automotive, we're not allowed that same freedom.
Well, Paul, I hate to ask you this kind of a hard business question, but one of the fastest ways you could have raised money is by selling franchise dealer rights. Why did you not do that?
Well, at the end of the day, that system would add to our sticker price.
That's what I thought was going to be
and
the answer.
So you're right. I could have raised a bunch of money now, and my customers would pay for it for the next 100 years,
Fair
right,
point.
in terms of a higher sticker price. So we chose to go this way because we want to keep the sticker price low.
You know, Paul, when we drove the vehicle, because it is a legitimate vehicle, there's not a lot of compromise in this, folks. It's not like you're buying a Conestoga wagon. You're not going to be roughing it in this vehicle. In fact, you're going to find it's actually fun to drive again. You're going to find that there's a uniqueness that makes it pleasant. But all the kind of things you expect are there that we've come to know in cars in terms of the solidarity of feel, the construction, the quietness, and the performance. In all fairness, is very much down the mainstream. You could have sold this car for $9,000, $10,000 just about as easily, Paul. You seem absolutely determined to hang on to this $6,800 base price.
Well, yeah, any business model works, right? I mean, Neiman Marcus makes a tremendous amount of money, and they mark stuff up a tremendous amount. And Walmart and Costco do very well at thin margins and high volumes, right?
Yep.
Any business model applied well will succeed. I'm a big fan of the high volume, low margin model.
Mm-hmm.
So because that increases the impact of the project, right? Because of our price point and mileage combination, we can put a tremendous number of these on the road. And after 5 years of sales, we can reduce total U.S. gas consumption by 0.5%.
Hmm.
And whether your big concern is carbon footprint or if your big concern is our trade deficit, the solution is the same. Stop using so damn much oil.
Right, exactly.
Right?
Yep.
And we create a ton of American jobs. This is 90% North American source, built in Shreveport, Louisiana. So it's truly an American car from the ground up, and we can create a whole lot of jobs, and that's important too. And the other thing that's important to me is if there's a study out there that says 60% of the people who are unemployed have turned down a job because they could not get to it. If you're struggling, mobility is your biggest issue, and we can solve that for a lot of folks.
Wow.
So you're right. We can make just as much money at $10,000 in a lower volume, or at $6,800 in a higher volume, but the impact we make is much, much greater if we go with a high volume model.
I understand that. Let me ask you, where are we going to see Elio sold? What's that going to look like?
Well, we're going to have company-owned stores, so it'll be in a strip mall environment.
Mm-hmm.
There'll be 2 vehicles outside, and automatic and standard, so you can test drive them. There'll be 1 inside, so you can shop in Phoenix in August and in Minnesota in December.
Mm-hmm.
and the walls will be lined with options. Like we said, we have that a la carte process. So you walk in and you say, I want the power leather seat and the lighted vanity mirror and the blind spot detecting mirrors.
Got it.
That order goes off to a marshaling center. We have 7 marshaling centers. We shut our stores down at 9 p.m. We build out vehicles till midnight, so we have 3 hours to clear the system. The vehicles go on trucks, and with 7 marshaling centers, we're 9 hours away from all of our stores. And at 10 a.m. the next day, you get the vehicle exactly the way you wanted it the day before.
Wow.
This is really clever stuff.
Now, I should say theoretically at 10 a.m. I think we'll have to promise sometime later because sometimes it snows and sometimes there's traffic.
Yep.
But at least it'll definitely be next day.
Well, don't feel bad. I pay for FedEx next day morning. It never gets there next day morning, but at least that's the delta I shoot for. Paul, I got to ask you this question. What kind of training do you think it's going to take to get that plant ready to go? The day you decide, okay, we're building these puppies, how many people and how are you going to train those folks? What's that going to look like?
Well, that's an enormous process, and my VP of manufacturing is Gino Raffin, and he ran plants for Chrysler for 35 years. So he has been through this over and over again.
Yes, he has.
And one of the nice things about the Shreveport area is at its peak, that site had 3,000 people going to work there every day. And now some of them have left the area, and some of them have found meaningful employment, but the majority of them is unemployed or underemployed. So there's a whole lot of folks who know how to build vehicles that are available, which is really good for us.
That is good, yep.
And the process is about 45 to 60 days ahead of start of production. You start hiring folks, you bring them in. We will run 1 shift at 70% speed on day 1. And then over the next 90 days, you continue to crank up the speed till you hit 100%.
Got it.
Then you split that team into two, so now you run 2 shifts at 70 and backfill both shifts. You run 2 shifts at 70%, and then you slowly ramp that up over another 45 days. So it takes us 90 days from start of production to hit full capacity. And at full capacity, we're going to make 1,000 vehicles per workday.
Wow. Last question before we let you go, Paul. And of course, we're going to lean on our Halloween time with you. But will the color be sprayed on, or will it be color impregnated?
It will be sprayed on.
It will be painted. Okay.
So it'll be a traditional automotive paint. BASF is our paint supplier.
Perfect. Whoa, good. Good stuff.
Everything on here is top shelf supply.
Yeah, yep, boy, very definitely. Paul, Elio, we're a fan of the company. By the way, I got to tell you, I think the world of Pam, your PR, public relations person, and Jerome has been great to talk with as well. Very, very knowledgeable and a big help, and I appreciate him hooking us up with you again. We look forward to seeing you at SEMA. And, of course, we're looking forward to our special Elio event right here at Shelby American Automobiles on Halloween Day, October 31st. Paul, thank you so much. We know how buried you are, but we look forward to talking to you in the future. And we continue to wish you Godspeed on this project.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you.
All right, my friend. You be safe, and we'll talk to you real soon. Bye-bye, Paul. Well, there you have it, folks. We're going to go to break right now. This is Drivers Talk Radio. AFM listeners, we appreciate being with us. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Drivers Talk. I'm Rick Titus, and that young man over there is Spencer Crick. It's the two of us in studio right here at Shelby American Automobiles. Of course, you are welcome to come by for free. You can actually sit with us and talk about the program and or go through what they call their Heritage Center. It really is the legendary center of, if you will, a museum of all the Shelby cars. There's got to be at least 40 cars in here, including the very first original Cobra. I keep saying that because it's probably worth more than this building, maybe this whole block on the strip. That thing's worth a lot of money, but not to try and think in just those forms. Obviously, it's an important part of the history of the automotive industry. A Daytona Coupe designed by our dear friend Pete Brock is here, and not to mention a bunch of other Cobras, GT350 Mustangs, and even a couple of Shelby's Chrysler products, some of which I tested when I was at Hot Rod Magazine, and they proved to be quite quick at track testing. They spank cars you would not have thought they would normally spank. Having said all that, let's talk a little bit about racing news. On the positive side, I have to say, although it's a little different than I expected, Simon Pagenaud, if you've been watching the IndyCar series, which has become quite good racing, if you watched it at all for 14, you saw that Will Power, driving for Roger Penske, did in fact win the championship after being a bridesmaid a number of times. Will Power, a very talented driver. Not particularly, I don't know if he's such a great teammate, because he proved he would be as quick to ram into a teammate as he would anybody else. And that will prove even more interesting, because one of the cars he rammed into who wasn't a teammate on a number of occasions was Simon Pagenaud. So now we're going to have Elio Castroneves, we're going to have Will Power, we're going to have Juan Montoya, and that boy knows a thing or two about ramming. And, of course, now you got Simon Pagenaud. This is, first of all, I hope Penske's got a bigger motorhome, because the Egos alone are going to be tricky to get in there. And, of course, my wife and I remain devout Elio Castroneves fans. Though we're glad that Will finally got that championship done and out of the way. But Simon's not going to come there to play nice, so this will be very, very interesting.
Quite
Spencer.
the group.
The other great news about IndyCar racing is that next year we finally get the new bodywork, because I think the guy that designed, oh my gosh, was that ugly enough? That was just the Pontiac Aztek of Formula cars. Was the bodywork we've been forced to look at for the last 3 or 4 years in IndyCar, and now they're finally getting some really good looking stuff.
I'm pretty sure "Is that ugly enough" was the tagline for that car.
Yeah, exactly. It's not ugly till we show you what ugly looks like. Having said that, they're going to be looking a lot more like Formula One cars now, and I think they'll be good for it. Of course, the Trans Am Series winding down. They've had a very successful year, and I hope to get somebody on from the Trans Am Series here pretty shortly. And of course, we have to talk about NASCAR. It's funny, up until the Charlotte race of 2 weeks ago, I was a reasonable NASCAR fan. I didn't love everything that particular program did, but at the same time, I respected a lot of what they did. I thought the behavior at Charlotte proved that NASCAR is not running, nor Roger Penske running things with the iron hand they used to. I'll give you an example. Two drivers in particular are guilty of extraordinarily levels of stupidity. Of course, Brad Keselowski, who we've all thought was just a nice, clean-shaven kid, dedicated, hard-working race driver. We found out that kid's got serious emotional issues. His behavior post-race was beyond disgusting, and frankly, I think deserved a far greater fine than just $100,000, which, by the way, for guys that making millions of dollars, that's tax deductible.
I feel that this is a crossroad. Do you want NASCAR to be more professional, or do you want it to be a WWE?
Yeah. You know what, Spencer, that's a completely legitimate question. It really is, because, you look at the Truck Series where they allow a lot of ramming and hitting and arguing to go on. And even with that Truck Series is not doing all that great from a spectator sponsorship standpoint. Nate Ryan, who I'm not a fan of, the sports writer who writes about auto racing, under what credential I have no idea, but I don't agree with most of his editorials. In this case, even he is saying, is NASCAR panicked? Are they trying to find crowd? Are they doing just about anything they can to get it back? But to not penalize them by points, to let them continue to stay within the championship, given the behavior that occurred in both on the track on the cool down lap and in the pits, to ram into cars. One of the drivers, Matt Kenseth, was actually unstrapped, already had his helmet off. I mean, come on, this is ridiculous.
It cheapens the whole circuit.
It is, in which case I said, and there's a lot of, let me tell you, there's backlash. The Internet's quite alive with people who are very, very upset. And though I missed the booing that occurred at driver introductions on Sunday, I'd love to have heard it. Even Brad himself said, I'm very excited to have won, though I'm sure there are a lot of people who are not so excited I won. That may be the most modest thing, because his post-incident press interview on the Friday before Talladega last weekend, he was not modest. I thought he was very uppity and aloof about it, and I think he could have done with a tune-up. And the thing that shocked me even more, not only did NASCAR not just go ahead and print up a bad behavior menu, and this is what it costs when you behave like this, I thought Roger Penske would slap him around, but you got a guy that's contending for the championship. He's right there and competitive. So I guess Roger's hands were kind of cuffed. I don't know.
Looks like somebody's giving Kyle Busch a little competition for most unpopular driver right now.
Here's the deal. Kyle Busch is looking like a pretty nice guy right now.
Right.
And Kyle Busch generally kind of is a nice guy until he gets that helmet on. It pitches on some nerve that turns him into a complete a-hole. But until that moment, not only is he a very talented guy,
he looks pretty tame right now.
He is looking like Santa Claus right now. He's the one cat, he and his brother, and even Harvick are probably going, cool, somebody else is the bad guy, not me. And then, of course, the guy that just proved that not only did he used to be one of the most talented drivers, that ship apparently has sailed, but he's also a complete and total moron. And now, of course, is Tony Stewart. If there's any one guy, the O.J. Simpson of race drivers, who should be flying under the radar, for him to get as stupid as he got in the pits and do that stuff. Now, they only fined him $50,000. Now, $50,000 to us is devastating, but $50,000 to these cats is nothing. I mean, I remind you, they got their own helicopter pilots. They got their own private airplane pilots. These guys are rich.
Well, the $50,000 is not where the damage was really done for Tony Stewart.
No. So well put.
We wish, or he's going to wish that the $50,000 was, and everybody forgot about it. But
I think there'll be a 5 and a 0 involved, but there'll be a significant gain in zeros. That was really, really foolish when you're a man pending a civil trial for the wrongful death of another race driver.
Guess what video is going to be played in that court
that
hearing?
thing's going to be courtroom front and center. So I hope it was worth being that stupid. And then, of course, a guy that I wouldn't trust to run a low-rent trailer park in a bad neighborhood, and that, of course, is Rusty Wallace. Couldn't wait to say that he just loved all this stuff. He just thought that was great. And given his mentality, I believe that. Here's a guy they gave a shower, a new suit, put him behind a desk, and now he thinks he's a legitimate journalist. I have no respect for him because of the things he says.
I'm pretty sure a suit is not the only thing you need to be a journalist.
Yeah.
I don't know much, but I know that.
You know enough. And he sits next to Brad Doherty, who's one of the classiest guys in all of NASCAR, and nothing's rubbing off. I don't understand. You're sitting next to one of the classiest guys that totally gets it, knows the business well beyond anything. Rusty Wallace is a former driver, and when he wasn't fist fighting, he would be ramming into people. A Dale Earnhardt wannabe. And I have no respect for Rusty. I've met him in person at a Ford Motor Company event. He was a moron there, and I think he continues that act on on and upward. I will say the chase, though, very odd qualifying thing at Talladega. I think NASCAR needs to visit that again. But the chase is definitely getting more and more intense. Every week they eliminate a couple more cats. I'm glad to see Ryan Newman hanging in there, though. He's he may just pull this off. They did find his car to be a little bit too low in the rear. Why NASCAR cares, I don't know. But a little bit too, well, yeah, it's faster down the straightaways because it sits a little lower with the spoiler. But having said that, no one knows what the penalty is going to be yet, but it's not going to be ugly because it wasn't intentional. He got hit so many times by people. That car's whole configuration changed. Kyle Pettit said it pretty good. The race car is already on edge when you take it out there. It's right on the edge of the rules and fitting the templates, getting the right height right and all of that. By the time you finish a race at Talladega, the car you bring back really doesn't measure anything like the car you took out. So NASCAR is going to be sensitive to that.
That's a pretty good strategy, smashing the other car until it doesn't fit regulation.
Yeah, well, the truth is that stunt's been pulled where rear bumper covers used to be released and, things like that would increase your straight line speed. They're a little savvy to that these days. Hey, let's get on to our book club question, and we're going to remind you about what's going to be happening to us on, or with us, if you will, on Halloween Day here. That said, of course, we have a book club, and it's the book we're going to give away this week. Thank you very much, Motorbooks, and go to motorbooks.com. You will not believe the topic selection this company has, and well beyond just cars, but in terms of depth of anything motor vehicle or anything engine powered, it's just unreal. A gentleman I have a great respect for, a journalist by the name of Larry Edsel, writes for Auto Week magazine. I've known him a long time. Did a book on the rebirth of Camaro. This is going to be an important book to have because as Camaro moves on and the iterations become more refined with this vehicle, going back to its roots and knowing how it got started, who approved it, what the platform was like, and what the challenges were to bring Camaro back into market, it's going to be valuable to people. And to give you an idea of Larry's credibility, Ed Welburn, the head of GM Design, actually wrote the foreword in this book. Trust me, Mr. Welburn's got other things to do with his time if he didn't believe you were worth the effort. So go to our Facebook page, click like us, and of course be the first to answer the question correctly, and Motorbooks will send you that book. We want to give a shout out to our number one fan, and of course that's Don. Thank you, Don, for your support. In your eyes, we always look good, and we appreciate that because not everyone in the world agrees with you. But
it's a good confidence booster.
Yeah, we do try very hard here. Spencer, what have I got? Have I got a minute or two left? What have I got?
You got a minute and a half.
A minute and a half. Just want to say, if you got questions, topics you want to address, things that we should be talking about, please.
Or questions for Elio.
Or even Elio. Send that stuff in. Hey, on that topic, Halloween Day right here at the Shelby American Automobiles, just off the Las Vegas Strip, Sunset Boulevard. You can see it from the 15. You go right by the place. It's just off the strip, Shelby American. Come on by here. Not only can you take a tour of the entire facility for free, you can watch them building Shelby Mustangs and Cobras, and they got a great gift shop. No charge to be in here. And of course, we'd love to see you here as well. But on Halloween Day, on Friday, Elio's going to be here. They'll have their final production prototype iteration here. You get to see it. We're going to get to drive it, spend a little time in it. We'll have some key Shelby personnel out there because we're trying to convince them they should supercharge or turbocharge one. And of course, the folks from Elio will be here themselves. And you need to see this. This is going to be a special event. It's going to run from 9 a.m. to noon. Right here on Friday, the 31st of October. So please join us. And again, if you got questions, topics, subject matters, the controversies, things you don't agree with us, well, we'll never show those, but no, I'm kidding. Obviously, we realize there's more perspective than one to any one topic, and we do have strong opinions but open minds. We're willing to we'll take a hard look at anyone's opinion.
Definitely.
To me, ignorance is a closed mind, and that we refuse to play with. So we want to thank Paul Elio and the gang at Elio. We think a lot of those folks. We're proud to be tagged to this car in that we have supported it very early on. We've had an opportunity to drive it. Few can say that. And we think this company, if all the right chips line up, this company's going to pull off
so far so good,
very revolutionary, and both Spencer and I want to get one as well. This is something to be fun to own, a lot of fun to do. Hey, just about, I got to tell you, the current Road and Track on the stands right now, a great issue. You want to get Road and Track. That said, the boss man over there is saying it's time to get out of here. We want to say on behalf of everyone associated with this program, Cam Benty, Steve Mank, who by the way has recovered very nicely, and of course all of our friends, Lance Speed, Louise, out there who contribute so much to this program. Thank you for that, Jerry Easley and Bob McClure, guys that we just think the world of. Thank you for their contribution. You'll be seeing them coming up on the show. And Kicker, thank you so much for your involvement with our program as well. We wish you open roads and safe motoring.